All right, everyone, we're good to go. Let's call the meeting to order. Welcome. Everybody bring their sticks. Oh, no? Okay. You brought yours? There you go.
I think they get to beat us.
Maybe. Well, we have a really great agenda tonight, lots of different topics on it. But I'd like to start by giving a congratulations to Dr. Donnelly, who was named as the PA Edge Outstanding Curriculum Leader. He received the PA Edge Outstanding Curriculum Leadership Award. So I just want to read just a paragraph or two from it. You might have seen it online, but nevertheless, definitely want to call him out and congratulate him. We're proud to announce that Dr. Michael W. Donnelly, Assistant to the Superintendent for Educational Services in Palisades, has been selected as the recipient of the Outstanding Curriculum Leadership Award. This honor recognizes Dr. Donnelly's exceptional contributions to curriculum development across Pennsylvania and his steadfast commitment to advancing high-quality learning experiences for all students. Dr. Donnelly is widely regarded as a visionary educational leader and systems thinker. He brings more than 2 decades of expertise in curriculum renewal, instructional design, strategic planning. His leadership spans roles as principal and director of curriculum instruction and assessment, where he's steered district-wide initiatives with clarity, innovation, and purpose. His professional accomplishments, ranging from managing federal accountability grants to helping the school earn a National Blue Ribbon School of Excellence designation, reflect his deep commitment to academic excellence and organizational coherence. Congratulations. And so with that, I will turn over to you.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate that. And as I said out at the conference this weekend, Bridget was there and gave really nice remarks. That it really takes a village, and we don't work in silos. So I appreciate the amazing team we have here and all the work that's done. You're going to see some examples of that tonight. So the first up on the agenda that we have is a really exciting elementary program that Jason Blocker and Shauna Chilton would like to present to you tonight. This is an action item, and it is about elementary bike riding.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
So this is a program that I think, if I remember the steps here, I think Bridget got it at some conference.
I did.
Michael then received it. He brought it to us. We did some research, and then we brought it back to Michael as something that we decided we would like to kind of pursue and see what we can get out of it for our school, for our kids. So, in looking at it, cognitive and academic impact, any physical education, meaningful physical education is going to be a positive impact on our students academically, emotionally, and all that. It's going to help with brain development, get more oxygen to their brain so that later on in the day, as they're learning in the classroom, it's going to help them retain that information and all that. I'm not going to go into what the program gives us because that's going to be the next slide. It gives us a lot. As for equity and lifelong health, not every kid gets an opportunity to ride a bike outside of school. So whether their family is able to get them a bike, able to teach them, has that time and all that. So this kind of allows us to take care of that in school. And it's a very unique program. Not every school has bikes. There's a few that I know do it in certain areas. I've never seen it actually done at the elementary level. I believe Saucon had it at the middle school level at one point. I don't know if they still do. But it gives every kid that opportunity, no matter their economic status. And obviously, the quicker we get students doing lifelong habits, such as bike riding, something that can be done from very young age all the way up into later years, the more likely they are to stick with healthy habits like bike riding, hiking, things like that, when they get that opportunity at a younger level, which is kind of the idea here. We're always looking for how can we keep kids healthy, not just when they're with us, not when they're at the middle school or the high school, but once they leave Palisades as well. So we're going to move on to the next slide, and this kind of gives everything that we receive from this program. So
yeah, we actually get quite a bit. So we get bikes for the whole class as well as a teacher bike. The bikes can be used 2 different ways. They're used as a balance bike without pedals. And then we get a conversion kit that can turn them into a pedal bike. Helmets for every single student. We get some storage racks. There is a warranty for 2 years of the program, life support, and that is warranties on, making sure that we can keep the bikes in working order. It comes with a training program, a curriculum that we can follow with the students. And so it really comes with the whole set and ability for us to teach a whole class at a time.
Sorry. And then again, why I bring it to Palisades, I kind of touch base on most of this. It's a unique, fun experience. Not every elementary school obviously has bikes. So providing our students here at Palisades a very unique opportunity in school to, have their bike riding and learn how to do a fairly important skill. Not every kid or every person gets the opportunity. Self-esteem and confidence, something we talk about a lot in both health and PE and elsewhere throughout the school. When a student first starts out, they don't know how to ride a bike. Everyone knows that aha moment when a kid's like, I got it finally. And it's one of the best things you can see as a teacher, a parent, an adult when you look at a kid. Enhanced learning, again, boost the cognitive function. Any physical activity is going to be beneficial to kids in whatever way it is, whether it's just motor skills or academic skills. And then healthier and happier kids. Physical activity releases all these hormones and chemicals and makes you feel better. So it reduces anxiety and stress. So hopefully, kids come, they have a good time, they learn something new or improve on their skills, and then they're just healthier, happier kids, which again will impact their academic health as well. So that is kind of the presentation at this point. Are there any questions?
And I would say, just as an assertion, the program is $9,000 per elementary school for a total of $27,000. And that is, we are able to fund that through grant funding. So there's no additional expense to the district.
So I love this. For some reason in my head, I thought it was just first grade, but it's K-2. Is it K-2?
So it's based around kindergarten.
Oh,
So
got
it's,
it.
It's
Okay.
strictly really a kindergarten program.
Got
But
it.
in my discussions with the rep that I was talking to, schools have done it up to second grade.
Okay.
Whether the bikes
I was
are
gonna say,
adequate
yeah.
enough for the second graders,
Right.
It's yet to be seen. We'll have somewhere it fits them perfectly and somewhere it would not. I think our thoughts are we'll start with kindergarten and we'll see how that goes. And then we'll see, maybe we move it up to first grade at the
Okay.
very least. And then who knows from there, maybe we go back and see if we can continue on in some way or another. Yeah.
So you have so the bikes are probably those real little ones,
Yeah,
and
they're
then
the-
they have without pedals. And
Mhm.
who's going to put the pedals on? You have three you've got 3 buildings. You've got 30 bikes per building. You're going to do all that?
So
This
I
could be a
thought-
STEM project for kids. There you go.
We could also not do the program at the same exact time at all 3 buildings, because that would be a lot.
Mhm.
Okay.
So if we can take time at one building, kindergarten will get that program during that time. The other kindergarten classes at the other buildings will be in their regular physical education curriculum, and then we'll kind of rotate through so that all 3 buildings would get it. But you are correct. that
Yeah.
it's just gonna
That's so
take a lot
funny.
of work.
That's 90 bikes
Yeah.
Yeah.
or more.
Well,
Whatever.
There you go.
Okay.
worth it.
Well, then the other question I have is, how are you? I was trying to visualize how this was going to come about. Are you going to build tracks for the kids to ride on? Are they going to be in the parking lot?
So most likely we will probably start in the gym if we can. And then as we progress, we'll move out to maybe the playground, the blacktop area. And then from there, it would be a discussion with the principals and Dr. Donnelly and you guys, of course, in some way, to kind of see where we could take it. We got great grass fields that are pretty much flat, every building. We have walking trails around.
there's a
there-
kid with a ramp. It really scares me with
No.
kindergartners,
This presentation, we threw it through a little AI.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we let AI take the reins on something.
Okay.
No, I do not plan, or we do not plan on having kids do some BMX stuff.
Right.
As much as some of them
wondering
are
about
going to ask us, where's the jumps? No, we do not plan.
And how about bike safety on the road? Are you going to, is that
So-
going to be in part of the program?
That is already a part of our program.
Okay.
So definitely for K-2, we already discussed summertime and bike safety and bus
Road
safety and
safety.
road safety. Later, we generally do that at the end of the year once they're about to kind of head out for the summertime as a little refresher when they're not with us every day.
Okay.
So we can definitely kind of bring that in more, even more now.
And the cost is completely paid for by all this? I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Looks like it, yeah.
Great program.
Thank you.
So I had two reactions. Number one, with the slides, they're adorable, and I thought it might be AI. So you
Yes.
need to teach me how to do that.
Oh, it's
Really,
so
really cute. I'm just, well, my dirty little secret. I did not learn how to ride a bike. We did
Uh-oh,
not
Sylvia's
have-
coming to your
Oh
class.
my
There you go. You're going
goodness.
to, you're going to.
I know. Well, they bought me one now, and I could get by, but I still like even getting
There you
on.
go.
You could have gone in your life.
Well, we had a bike. I grew up rather poor, but we had a bike, and I had brothers, so it was a boys' bike. So by the time it got me to be, who was the youngest, it was not only extraordinarily old, but it was a boys' bike. So the teasing was merciless. So Jess did not learn. So the idea that this is just near and dear to my heart, that some 50-year-old woman, not that I'm 50, some woman somewhere would be sitting in a board meeting thinking, geez, I never learned. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And anytime we can encourage our kids to go outside and to learn something that takes them away from all the screens, I think is lovely. So thank you for the initiative getting this together.
It was that
Oh, was it? Okay.
Has there been consideration as to where things may be stored? I mean, obviously,
We've been mulling that, just thinking about that, Springfield, we have a fantastic, like, very large gym, and a very large closet, so I'm sure we could make some space somewhere within that space. As for Durham, again, we're gonna have to.
We have a
talk
shed
about that.
at
We have a
Durham that we would need to allocate space to that
Mhm.
and kind of rearrange where we have some of our things. We have things in like 4 different locations
Yeah.
at that building, and so every building is slightly different as
Yeah.
far as that. And Tinicum, we also have a little bit of shed space,
Mhm.
but we also have a equipment closet there that we can put some space and allocate things differently. So
Yeah.
it's going to be probably a little bit of Tetris and trying to figure out where all the pieces go.
You'll figure it out.
Is he?
Where do you load
Is,
them up in
oh.
your car and take them to, how are you going to?
yeah, that's what I was
We
wondering.
have one for each building.
Then
Oh, you
yes,
do?
it's
That's what I was
One
gonna
set
ask.
for each building.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, you need to get them all together in like a little kindergarten race on the track at the
Right.
end of the year.
Right.
Teach some
A little
mechanics,
parade or
they'll have to
something?
flip them
All right.
out.
Joanne, did you have a question? Oh.
Oh,
Thank you
okay.
very much.
Okay, that's
That's a
great.
great idea.
All right. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions or
Thank you.
comments? Great. Thank you. All
Thank you.
right. Looks like we're at the Palms English Language Arts Curriculum Recommendation.
So I'm assuming by the clapping, we're good to move
We're
forward.
good to move forward with that, yes.
That could be our new way of.
There we go, that's right. Clap or,
Is everyone clapping?
all right.
How about a thumbs up?
Is it a thing? Or like
Yeah.
this, neutral?
Yeah.
All right, so as you know, we are continually reviewing our curriculum throughout the district, the programs that we offer, and our secondary or middle school reading and language arts program. It was time for review, and the team here did a really nice job, similarly to what our elementary team did when it involved observations and conversations and going to different schools and districts and making connections and going online and looking at the data. So this evening, Karina Valiant, who's our middle level reading and language arts department chairperson, as well as some of her teammates, are here. Lori and Danielle. Danielle just joined us at the district in January, taking over for Arlene McGrady, who's here as a full-time grandma now, not no longer full-time teacher. Part-time grandma. So yeah, turn it over to Karina and her team.
Okay, thanks, Michael. All right, thank you for having all of us. As Michael said, I'm Karina Valia. I am the chair at the Middle School of Language Arts, and I'm also a 7th grade reading teacher. And Danielle, again, is our new 8th grade English teacher, and Lori Kesselman, our gifted teacher and 7th grade English teacher this year. So let's see. I'm going to coordinate both things here.
Down arrow.
Down. Okay, there we go. All right. So overall, our goal was to evaluate and select a new language arts curriculum that would serve the needs of all of our middle school students. So we had several sub goals in order to achieve our main goal here. First being determining an effective block of language arts instruction time that would be suited for the middle school and appropriate for our middle level students. So I am going to speak to this point a little bit. We looked into combining our reading and English classes at the 6th and 7th grade level into one block. Currently, they are taught separately. We did find research that does indicate that teaching reading and writing together is definitely generally more of an effective practice than teaching them separately. This does already occur at the 8th grade level at our middle school. And this also falls in line with the proposed new schedule, which I believe you've already heard about. Dr. Scheibenhofer shared that with our approximate 60-minute block of time for those academic core content classes. Our other sub-goals, looking at the programs used in cohort districts around Bucks County, reviewing ed reports, of course, using our common evaluation tool, and then ultimately selecting our curriculum that is built around best practices and the science of reading. Okay, factors to elimination, of course, our curriculum review, vendor presentations, the feedback that we received from cohort and Bucks County schools, ed reports, and the customer service support that we received from the companies as we worked through the process. The programs that we reviewed were Amplify ELA, HMH Into Literature, and Savvis My Perspectives. We looked into these three companies after we considered a bunch, but these three we narrowed it down to based on their reputations, what surrounding districts in our area we're currently using, our current curriculum, and because of the elementary school's recent adoption of Amplify's CKLA curriculum. So we began this school year at our using our in-service time with virtual meetings of the three different companies. During these presentations, we were provided with an overview of the curriculum. The companies then sent us materials for us to review, and after reviewing the materials and considering the presentations, we ultimately felt that Amplify definitely stood out to us. Basically, its comprehensive nature. HMH, it was quite similar to what we currently have, which, by the way, we've had since the early 2000s. Arlene and I actually helped adopt that curriculum. And that it makes sense that HMH is similar to what we currently have because McDougall-Littell ultimately many years ago, or several years ago at this point, became part of HMH. And Savvis, we also felt really was quite similar to still what we have right now and weren't overly impressed by their customer service, which was one of our considerations. So at that point, we made the decision to move forward with in-person meetings with Amplify and HMH. And after those meetings, again, Amplify really stood out to us for quite a lot of reasons. To name just a few, the differentiation that's embedded into the curriculum, the engaging complex texts, the reading writing connections, really superb, the direct explicit instruction that it provides, and of course the big emphasis on close reading activities. So again, we really felt strongly with Amplify at that point. So our next step was to go on a site visit. So Lisa Matajesix, the 7th grade reading, 6th grade, thank you very much. I am the 7th grade reading teacher. So Lisa and I spent the day at Northern Lehigh observing lessons in action at all middle level grades. And we were able to talk to the administrators, the teachers, actually got to talk with the students, all in order to help us with the decision-making process. So some of the highlights that, we walked away from, structured lessons, there were clear routines, consistency between classes at the same grade level. So meaning if we have two teachers teaching a 6th grade class or two teachers teaching 7th grade, they were on the same page, if I can say that. The kids were excited to talk with us about the text that they were reading. They were really engaged with it. They were excited by the vocabulary interactive activities that the program also offers. And when we spoke with the teachers, obviously it was, well, not obviously, but it's their first year with the curriculum. So there's a degree of feeling a bit overwhelmed, but they are excited by it. They felt that the text structure, the lesson structure provided them with a really good foundation to continue what these kids at North Only Higher Than Learning, also CKLA at the elementary level. So they were building on that foundation. And they also did say that it was challenging for their kids, and this is at the beginning of the year, but they really felt that their kids were rising to the occasion. Following that visit, we met again with our Amplify reps and wanted to get a little bit of clarification on some areas of the curriculum, one of which is called the 100 lesson pathway. So they assured us that if we chose to follow the 100 lesson pathway, that every standard would be covered. In addition to, there's also a novel study for each grade level. So within that 100 lesson pathway, every grade level would also have a novel study provided through Amplify. In terms of vocabulary instruction, it's explicit, it's interactive. We inquired just a little bit more as to what that exactly looks like. So each of the teaching units include a vocabulary module in which the teacher would provide direct explicit introduction to the whole class. Students would be exposed to these words, of course, then through the context of the story as well. In addition, there are paper and pencil activities that can be used also. And then there's access to what's called the vocab app to reinforce the understanding of that vocabulary and have a little fun with it. In terms of differentiation and how it meets the needs of all the learners, there is the ability to adjust question levels that is provided in all aspects of this curriculum. For example, it might be sentence type or question types. There might be sentence starters provided as the kids respond to the text in the close reading activities. Ultimately, the way it's described, the way we see it is one activity can really serve the needs of all the students, whether it's for challenge or for support. It hits the gamut. Let's see. So following that meeting with Amplify, we then had a virtual meeting with the K-12 Humanities Supervisor from Cumberland Valley School District. And our meeting highlights with them and just kind of an overview of how that conversation went. They also are using CKLA at the elementary level, and this year they have adopted it at the middle school level. For them, it was a natural progression. They felt that they really wanted to continue with the foundation that was being built at the elementary level and all that background knowledge, that vocabulary knowledge, and just continue that. So it was a natural progression. They said at this point at that point, prior to adopting it, they had more of what was a homegrown curriculum where they were pulling a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from everywhere. So they were really looking for an evidence-based curriculum, and Amplify completely satisfied that need. Another thing that she pointed out was that the lessons are very structured, or not very, just structured lessons, but they are not scripted. And she really liked that. And she said the teachers really like that as well, because it allows for flexibility and that teacher personality to shine through, and a little bit of, your own spin can be put on it, still teaching the program with fidelity. And she raved about the customer service support, just said it was absolutely outstanding. Following that meeting, we have had a lot of meetings here, a lot of conversations. We met again with Amplify. I wanted a little bit more clarification, just a little bit more on the 100 lesson pathway. So what they shared with me, there are 6 units per grade level that are taught. If you choose the 100 lesson pathway, one of those 6 units is pulled. I did ask the question, do they tell us which unit needs to be pulled, or do we get to choose? They make a recommendation. They suggest which one should be pulled because that definitely allows for all the standards to be met if you follow what they recommend. But what she did tell me was that if we really felt strongly that we did want to keep one of the units in and pull a different one out for whatever reason it is, she said, as long as we work with them, we can ensure that we would still cover all of those standards, but we would definitely need to meet with them to check off, make sure that we're hitting everything that we need to hit. She also talked about that with the 100 lesson pathway, it allows our district, our building, our teachers, if we do have other curriculum, novel studies, units that we are really want to hold on to that we feel are important, it allows you to do that. So it's a great pathway, it sounds like. We also verified about the modes of writing because our PA core standards were responsible for teaching our students about narrative, informative, and argumentative writing. So all of these writing modes are covered through this curriculum. There is a stronger focus on informative and argumentative, however, but all modes are absolutely addressed. We talked about the tier 2 interventions that are available, and this program does include what's called Boost for grades 6 through 8, and it's high interest, engaging readings that students would work with to build close reading skills. The tier 2 interventions could be incorporated into what's called flex days every 5 to 7 days with the lesson formatting. There are built-in flex days to work with students who need interventions or provide those enrichment opportunities for students who need that push ahead or are ready to move forward. They could also be used for possibly our pirate block time that we're hoping to get rolling this year with our new schedule as well. So then I asked her, my last question was, why Amplify? Why do you think Amplify for the middle school? And our product specialist, she is a former middle school teacher. She taught for 20 years. She shared that she has experienced several different curriculums, and by far, Amplify was the best due to its comprehensive, cohesive nature and the text engagement that she actually felt like the students felt and the teachers also felt. So we are recommending Amplify for our middle school. Our ed reports satisfy all gateways, all grade levels at 100%. That was the only one that we looked into that met all that those standards there. It is an evidence-based curriculum. It's built on the science of reading with a strong focus on analyzing and writing about complex texts. It's high quality. It's engaging and comprehensive. It meets the needs of all, which of course is our main goal. Recommendations for effective implementation, professional development to begin at the end of the school year, optional curricular work over the summer to help us prepare, the development of a professional learning community with our administration for next school year, and continued conversation with our elementary team to ensure that vertical articulation and alignment. And then costs. We're looking at a 6-year license, which would include print and digital, student materials, teacher materials, M-Class, DIBBLES, which is Amplify's progress monitoring program, Boost, that was the tier 2 intervention program I spoke about, and a year full of professional development that you can see what that looks like up there. And
I would just say one thing that Karina didn't know, and you might know, but at this point, really all of these series are consumables. The kids are writing in the books. And I love technology, but it is very nice as a reading and writing teacher to be able to mark the text and have dialogues. I understand they did it for a business reason, but it's really good for kids. So I'm glad to see that every child will have a book that can write it.
I have to ask, is it cursive?
Cursive.
It has to be cursive.
Well, we'll do our best. I write on the board in cursive and
Good.
we do here and there, we do some cursive things.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's not in the series.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If they don't use it, they'll lose it.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll send you our practice books.
There you go. Okay. All right. Questions from the committee?
So it looks like the coaching comes with it. Is it similar to what you're doing with the
Absolutely.
elementary?
Yep.
Yeah, that looks really good. And so the whole program is similar to what you've been doing with the elementary.
Yep.
And how long did, no, wait, which one was it? You had two different districts, neither of them in Bucks County, I noticed. Because, on the chart that you sent out, there wasn't any other CKLA.
Right, Amplify was not yet.
Yeah,
You're correct.
and I saw that, I think it was Pennsbury does their own, like the teacher.
Yeah.
I think New Hope also.
Was it New
I thought
Hope
maybe
too?
New Hope.
Yeah,
Upper Perk also,
something.
they don't have a specific curriculum.
Really?
It's developed around novels, developed around different teaching units.
yeah, that's a little scary.
Yes, yes,
Just a little bit.
agreed.
But the second one, not Northern Lehigh, because
Cumberland Valley.
yeah, how long have they had it?
At
Was
the
this a-
middle level,
Yeah.
I believe it was just this year.
So they both were just this year.
They're both
as you
just
said that,
this year,
okay.
yes.
Very
I
interesting.
actually did have a conversation with the curriculum specialist just this morning, actually at it's out near Central PA in Hughesville. I'm trying to remember the name of the county, but I had reached out to her earlier, and we just finally connected. And they are in either their second or third year of it. Also use it at the elementary level, and everybody I have spoke to has just talked highly of this program and what it's doing for their students and the continuity, the structure with it, the engagement that the students have in it. Again, it's pushes them, but it's giving good results.
And particularly since they're having it in elementary and going, following into the middle school, I think it's important to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a knowledge building curriculum, so it will continue that knowledge building and the vocabulary. And again, through context and
Mhm.
a lot of strong vocabulary that they need to know in order to be successful. Ultimately, everything I gather here by using CKLA at the elementary and then moving forward at the middle school is really setting our students up for the best chances of success at the high school and
Yeah.
giving them that foundation. That's, what we feel, what we found. Arlene was also part of the process at the beginning of the year.
Her
too.
practice presentation to me last week. I was in Florida while she was doing it. But yeah, I went through the beginning part with them, and HMH felt a lot like what we were already doing for 25 years. And it just was time to say goodbye to that.
Well, I've certainly heard a lot of wonderful things at the elementary level, and to your point about the challenge, and I think we all recognize these curriculums are a bit of a challenge and we're pushing the kids a bit. But to the feedback that we're about to look at from the comprehensive plan, there was some comments about that. Like the more we push the kids, they really are rising to the occasion. So I like the opportunity to do that. I did my own research just generally. I'm not the curriculum expert that others are, but I really like the core novel per grade. The only thing I read that, I think we should be mindful of is that they're hardly lengthy novels, but at that age, they feel like it, that having paper copies of those novels are important. So to the extent we need to budget those and build those in, I think that's
I believe they are included.
Wonderful,
That was what
wonderful.
we were-
It's nothing like seeing a kid with a book, right?
Yeah.
Physical book.
Yeah.
And there, to your point about substituting lessons, there was clear, like the Edgar Allan Poe unit, everybody loved, and there was one unit that no one liked. So, having some degree of flexibility, I think, to see what the kids kids are responding to seem like a wonderful opportunity. So, I trust the judgment here, but really looking forward to the connections that all of that I'm seeing now from the elementary parents. I'm hearing about the connections of the history and the context around the English and the reading lessons that they're getting. They're coming home. So it'd be wonderful to extend that, I think.
Betsy?
I just wondered if you have had the opportunity to talk with the elementary teachers that are currently implementing CKLA because obviously they're very similar programs put out by the same company, about the implementation, the support that they've received from the company, and if that has made any difference in your
From what I gather, and Michael, I did speak with Christina Cruz, the department head at the elementary level, and she said customer service has been great. Michael, when we talked, you've had no issues with it, correct? And the different schools, the 3 or 4 different school districts that I spoke with, they all just truly could not stop talking about how good the customer service was. And I have to say, I've obviously been reaching out to Julie and Laura, the instruction specialist, a lot. And it's immediate. Actually, I have Julie, she's on speed dial. She said, Karina, you just put my number in your cell phone. If anybody has a question, you text me. I will be ready and waiting. So, I mean, they're very responsive, and I feel really comfortable, confident.
I too like the fact that it's a continuation. I really feel that does will give our students the best support.
I think so too.
Oh, great. We adopted version 3 at the elementary level. Is this version 3 or is it version 2? Is it a new version?
Oh, I think it is because
It's
now,
not.
are you
They,
sure
they
it's
don't,
not?
yeah, I asked Julie, they don't have a version 3.
I didn't think
And
they
there
did
wasn't
either. Okay.
conversation about any changes to it.
Okay, so I love CKLA and I love the middle school version. I've been working with this for the last 3 years in Los Angeles. It is a very good program. You will have to pay attention to the writing. The writing piece is a little weaker than the reading piece. So you'll have to pay attention to that. And I would hit their coaches up on that to say, let's dig into this.
Okay.
But it is good, no doubt. It is good.
And I would imagine when there was a revision, we would get it.
Not necessarily. Yeah, I think they,
For a price,
yeah,
sometimes.
for a price.
Actually,
Yeah.
I
no
think
free
maybe what
lunch.
I'm thinking is, I think was there a recent revision?
There was from elementary. I don't
Right.
know about middle level.
But I think maybe I think you might have inquired about the novels. They might have switched out the novels.
Maybe that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the core
Yeah.
product
Okay.
itself has remained stable at the edition that it has. But the elementary needed a reboot, which is why we waited
Yeah,
after.
and they had gotten some push that there wasn't enough of kids reading full novels.
Yeah,
So I think they
Yep.
probably,
exactly right.
That's crazy.
yeah, which is great.
And those do
Yeah,
come as a
correct.
classroom library. So those
Yeah.
are
And
part
it
of.
was
great.
one of the novels they were complaining about, so I wonder if they switched that one
Maybe,
out.
yeah. So refresh my memory. How many teachers are so if we do 4 full days of on-site coaching, which is probably, on a quarter or whatever,
Mhm.
every teacher will get,
Correct.
there's
Yep.
enough,
Yep.
that's enough time to give
Oh, yeah.
every teacher support.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
For now, and then we'll add just like we are at the elementary level, or if we find that we need more support, then I can, as I would, seek grant funding or
We
other
did 8 at the
opportunities.
elementary level this year, right? Did we do 8?
No, we did 4. But
We
it was
did?
4,
Okay,
but it was
okay.
4, it was 4 3-day stints so that each school.
Oh, got it.
So every school
Okay,
got 4
okay,
days,
okay,
yeah.
great.
And
Just
I've
want to
been
make
working-
sure there's enough
And
there,
they
right?
came
In
here,
terms
right?
of language
Yes.
arts teachers
Are they going to come?
at the middle school, we can say there's 2.
Like per grade.
level.
That's what I thought.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Okay. So this will come to the board?
So long
Yes.
as you tell me yes.
I believe so.
I'm in
Yes.
support.
Awesome.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Question, I didn't ask the public. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. Feel free to stay or feel free to go, whenever you want.
And now the opposite end of the spectrum, math. Here we go.
All right, so this evening, we have with us Mr. Davis, principal at Springfield, also principal at Tinicum, and Mr. Traver, who is our elementary math interventionist or specialist, as it were. And they're here to do a little bit of a hodgepodge, but really the idea is to focus on the fact that this year is the first year. So we've had everyday math for many decades at this point, and our teachers reviewed it just like they did CKLA, and it was determined that was still the best program. Our students at the elementary level traditionally do very well when it comes to math, which is why we then moved it into the 6th grade to have that comprehensive programming. And then this year we decided that we were going to add the same ancillary or the same support for students through the use of what's called ALEKS, ALEKS. It is directly correlated to the everyday math program. And so our students are able to then receive intervention and enrichment opportunities through that program, similar to other programs that like Boost that comes with CKLA that allows for kids to work independently to practice skills that they need support in or to grow in areas in which they want to grow faster or deeper. So to that end, I have our team here to talk more about that.
Yeah, so basically what we're gonna do is remind you why everyday math still works at the elementary level, tell you about Alex. We're going to talk with you about Mr. Traver's schedule, and he'll share with you some data of what things have looked like for him this year. So Amber's going to start us off.
So with everyday math curriculum, for those of you that are unfamiliar, it's a research-based pre-K to 6 curriculum, emphasizing the real life problem solving, exposure to concepts, repeated exposure to concepts, multiple methods for solving problems, utilizing tools like math boxes and games to just build that understanding and operational fluency. So a lot of chances for differentiation for teachers. Some of the key features, I'm not going to read it all verbatim, but that real world application is super important, making those concepts meaningful. Spiral curriculum, so concepts are not taught in isolation, but they're revisited across extended grades just for distributed practice. The third feature is multiple strategies, encouraging students to explore various methods for computation rather than relying on one single method, which is important. Active learning and games, kids love games and learning. So for example, fact triangles, flashcards, just routines built around skill. Balanced instruction, lessons include a mix of whole group, small group, and independent work, which is nice to see when visiting classrooms, just to meet all those learners. And then finally, just that connection with home and school, super important for the elementary kiddos, grasping those concepts at the early level. So we have home links, study links, just connect school with daily life. And it's cool to see kids come in with certain projects that teachers send home. So I think we're going to move on to Alex.
So Alex, and again, we appreciate that the board supported adding Alex on. This is the first year we've utilized Alex, which stands for Assessment and Learning in Knowledge Spaces. So it's a math accelerator that helps up to 12th grade students reach mastery. And there's 25 years of research that it helps to pinpoint math concepts that each student does and doesn't understand before it generates individual support to help them achieve mastery. So here's some other things about Alex. It's targeted supplemental practice for every student, whether we're just filling gaps, learning on level, or accelerating beyond, which is incredible because we have kids at all levels. So it helps us in all areas because the students take an initial knowledge check, and that determines what they know, what they don't know, and what they're ready to learn next. So that knowledge check places them into the proper, say, pathway. Then there's this Alex Pie chart, which visualize how much a student knows, how much they have left to learn within each topic area. If we click on reports on the computer, you can just kind of see what it looks like. So our teachers are getting all these reports. We're still trying to understand them all. I can't read that. That's why I always bring my handy printout. So, just to kind of give you a sense of that. You get all kinds of different reports, like the average progress of a student, the topics that they learned that week. And you can look at each individual student to see the average time that they've been on. So then teachers can talk with students, oh, you're not meeting the criteria for how long we want you to be on, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And the learning rate breakdown and what topics they're learning and how much time they've been on. We get so many reports. It's unbelievable that you can really see everything a student is doing and learning. Thank you. So the prerequisite topics are built into every grade level course, which makes it easier for students to fill in, maybe previous gaps that they've had in access grade level content. What we've also developed, we have to talk about how are we going to use Alex. So the three of us have worked together on let's determine what it's going to look like, setting expectations for staff. We waited a trimester to let teachers play around with it a little bit. And then here are some expectations that we have put into place for the rest of this year and next year. So for grades 4 and 5, for a focus during WIN, we want to make sure every teacher is giving their student the placement test, because that gives them that pathway. And then they can work on their path or assignments by that the pathway gives them, or the teacher can say, hey, I want you to work on this. Maybe they have new data from an assessment or something they've been working with, because it connects to everyday math. The teacher can change or adjust the pathway as needed, which is a nice feature. Then we looked at the frequency for use and what the recommendation is. So it's for K to 2, 30 to 45 minutes per week, which just means like 15 minutes a day. You can do a couple days a week. It's not something that kids are doing every day, and we don't want them on the computer every day. Hey, a virtual day, 15 minutes, do it at home. 3 to 5, 45 to 60 minutes a week. So it's really not that much time. It's just a little boost. If students do not reach the expected frequency, we've talked about that they're expected to get it done at home, because some kids are very busy during WIN time and they may not get that Alex time in or even their boost time in. So for K to 2 students, they keep their Chromebooks here at school. We've set up like a QR code. They can go on a computer at home. It's very simple to get on. And we really tell them, don't go past this amount of time. Teachers are working with their families, telling them, we don't want you going past 45 minutes for K to 2. And then 3 to 5 students take their Chromebooks home every night so they can make sure they're hitting that 60 minutes. And again, the teachers can track that and track what they're doing during that 60 minutes. Then, maybe most important, we started to think about data questions that we would ask teachers in data meetings. We all in each elementary building, we have data meetings with our teachers throughout the year based on beginning, middle, end of year data and progress monitoring. So here are just some questions that we could ask. It's not like we're going to go through every question with every teacher. Teacher usage and implementation. How many minutes per week are your students spending in Alex compared to the recommended amount? We want to shoot for what you're supposed to do, but with different things, it doesn't always happen. What percentage of students are meeting the weekly Alex usage goal? Then you have progress and mastery. Which standards or topics are the highest level of mastery for your class? We're having competitions now where kids are actually moving past their grade level. And in different buildings, we do different things. I can only speak to Springfield. We give out like a math ribbon. We have students who've graduated from 5th grade. Now they're going to like middle school math on Alex. So that's very exciting for students. We find ways to motivate them, and we're doing something different in each building to keep that going. What are the topics that students are struggling with the most based on the pie chart? Are there specific students showing fast or slow progress? So we can dig in and get the answers to these questions. Looking at growth and readiness, which students have shown the most improvement and percent mastery? Charlie, if you get on a little more, please. Which students have shown the most improvement? Which prerequisite gaps appear to be most frequently in your class? And as a principal, we can go in, we can look at the data and pick the questions that we want to ask certain teachers. I think there's a little more, isn't there? Yeah. Intervention and differentiation. Which students need targeted small group instruction? What trends do you see in the ready to learn for your class? This helps teachers differentiate. Which math domain show the greatest need for intervention or enrichment? And there's some examples there. And how does this data, how are you using this data to help inform either your full group instruction, small group lessons? So these are just some questions that we developed this year, and I'm sure there are many more. Now we're going to move into talking about Charlie. And Charlie's going to share data, but before we do that,
I feel like you should tell us what Charlie stands for, just like Alex.
I spent all your trying to come up with an acronym. The one and only Charles Traver.
If I can say real quick about Alex, Charlie has done a phenomenal job joining our data team meetings, because sometimes it can be intimidating for teachers to look at all of this information. So he kind of breaks it down and meets with them, and he's done a great job of that.
in all three buildings. So last year was Charlie's first year, as you all know. So we appreciated having a math interventionist at the elementary level. So what we wanted to do after his first year, we felt he was spread a little too thin in his first year because we had to figure out how do you use one math interventionist in three different buildings when all three buildings have different needs, different staffing needs, and etc. So last summer, the principals met and we talked about that we really like how K-2 at Durham has a math interventionist. We don't have that at Springfield and Tinicum, and we were seeing how some of their data of foundational skills has improved because they have somebody really focusing on that with the kids. So we said, well, why don't we really focus, Charlie, this year on working with K-2 at Tinicum and Springfield to build those foundational skills, because we want to make sure we fill those gaps with our youngest students. And at Durham, they had more of a need. Again, we have different gifted teachers in each building, and they all have different strengths. So at Durham, they needed more. Kids are different. Some need more enrichment than others. So at Durham, the particular need was, hey, we really need enrichment in grades 3, 4, and 5. So we want to have, in addition to Marissa Moyer, who does a wonderful job for intervention, we want Charlie to really work with the enrichment at Durham, and he's going to tell you all about that. Now at Tinicum, we're focused on the K-2 for the foundational skills. But what we've also learned, so we started small this year, so we didn't spread Charlie too thin. And we start with K-2, and then we started to add on as we identified through our data needs. Maybe there's some students in grade 3 that need assistance, maybe grade 4. How about there's some students in this particular little pocket that can use enrichment? I know they've been doing that at Tinicum. I think in 5th grade, there's a pocket of students that need that enrichment, and Charlie is helping them grow. We did something very similar at Springfield. K-2 started building out to the different grade levels. So now his schedule in every building includes pretty much all grade levels, but it's manageable compared to how it was last year. And I was just in his room today with his 5th grade enrichment group. They were talking about absolute value, like algebra. These kids were blown away. These are our top math students in 5th grade. And Charlie really challenged them. It was awesome to see because they're doing things they haven't done before. But the other thing I want to point out is that our teachers, our math teachers, are strong, and they do a great job enriching our students. So, and the PAL teacher. And again, each PAL teacher is a little different. They all have their strengths. So at each building, there's a story about what our needs are. So that's why it varies what's happening in each building. But we're very pleased with the schedule we put together this year. We continue to work through it and tweak it. And Charlie's working with intervention and enrichment in each building. He's going to show you some data of what we've learned this year.
Actually, this might still be you.
Yeah,
So you kind of spoke to that, but through the use of Alex and through MAP and through the hard work of the teachers, so we really focused on the primary grades, and we've identified and focused the achievement gaps, the gaps of those foundational skills at the K1 and 2 level that the students need before they get to 3rd grade, before they encounter that first PSSA test. Really build those foundational skills around computation and Acadian skills matrix shows what assessments are given at what grade level. In Acadians, that's really a foundational formula for our identifying what students are in need of intervention, what students are in need of enrichment. So here, beginning quantity discrimination is in kindergarten, that it's just associating dominoes to numbers and start to really identify numbers. I kind of found in the kindergarten, I can really pick out what students had some kind of foundational math skills taught to them in preschool before they come to us, because it's usually the ones who did not go to preschool, who didn't have, or they went to preschool but not have strong math foundation at that level when they come to us. So they get me fresh in the kindergarten in September with intervention. So we start working on those basic skills. So that's just basically a breakdown of what is tested at what grade level. So you see quickly move into computation, and then concepts and applications is the last one where we start to apply the computational skills into real world applications. And that really starts to make that transition from elementary into middle school, where we're starting to apply our solid foundation of numbers and operations into real world applications. Okay, Scott, you can go back, please.
I don't want to exit out of the wrong thing.
I can't see
There's
it.
so much over.
Oh, look at that.
There you go. I didn't want to mess that up.
I'm also the principal's personal tech assistant. So growth is shown from beginning of middle to year has allowed for advancement of skills to increase grade levels. So students are receiving interventions. So when we assess them in the middle of the year, I was really happy with those foundational skills that students really started to master. So in the Acadians, when they take the beginning of the year and they take the middle of the year test, they're put on a pathway of typical progress. So we really want the students to be showing well above typical progress and above typical progress. This is kind of where we want them to be as they progress throughout the school year. And we want the intervention students and the enrichment students to show the same kind of results, but we want to make sure they're in that dark green or that blue as they progress from beginning to middle of the year. And here's our kindergarten results. So we kind of kept it a little smaller at the beginning of the year once they came to us. So in Springfield, I've seen 4 students in kindergarten. In Tinicum, I had 4 students. And all 8 of them showed either well above typical progress or above typical progress in that one trimester. Again, they were very, very foundational skills, even though they showed that well above typical progress. At Springfield, 3 out of the 4 are continuing with me because now we're moving to the next skill. So we're not on beginning quality discrimination yet. Now we're on number identification. Then we're going to move to the next number. Those skills are not there yet, but hopefully we'll get there by the end of the year. That's my goal, is to make sure that they're ready for first grade. Any questions on the kindergarten data breakdown? And here's our first grade. At Springfield, I had 7 students. At Tinicum, I had 5 students. And we see the breakdown there. So we had 2 students at Springfield who were well below typical progress. In the meantime, one of those students has been identified for learning support. So I had the same student last year, and every thing I tried, every intervention I attempted, nothing was working, and we identified him. He's been in that qualified for learning
Specially
support.
designed instruction.
Yes. One below typical progress. I kind of looked at the results, and student was absent quite a bit days when I was in the building. So when they miss my sessions, there's not much I can do. So it's one of the things, like, it's a double-edged sword in the building. Only 3 guys out of 6. I'm still really excited about the first grade progress, but 3 of those 7 students are continuing with me in the trimester 2, and Tinicum 2 out of the 5 are continuing with me. So when we move students in, or move students out, we move students back in. So I kind of still continue to pull the lowest of the low. If they're still struggling in a certain skill, make sure I pull them in, because first grade is the first grade level when they start to hit the basic computation assessment. So they're no longer doing the one-to-ones. They're not doing the number identification. They're not doing the advanced quantity discrimination. They're not moving into solid computation.
So in Springfield, you had 4 that graduated, like they moved out of the intervention.
I had 4 that did move out because I may not have started on the very lowest of first grade, because now we're starting to move into the next number, into the missing number. I should have put samples on their mental note for next time. But what they're asked to do, they already had mastered that.
They had mastered it.
So I kind of targeted the skills that they're lowest in, and once they graduate out of that, now they're good.
So
Because the skills kind of transfer across the continuum of skills.
Mm-hmm.
So if they start to do number identification and the advanced quantity discrimination, which is saying, okay, which one's larger, 32 or 53? Once they start to identify that number, now that big skill becomes a lot easier.
So in our data meetings for the math piece of it, we're looking at this Acadians data, and the teachers know, hey, they know this now, but in a few months they need to be here. Do we keep the student in because they're progressing nicely, or do we pull them out and bring the next one in that needs more? So those are the conversations that we're having based on data.
And refresh my memory, is the Acadians benchmarking system the system we're using to identify the students who go into intervention in the first place?
For the most part, we
Okay.
also do consider MAP scores,
Okay.
curriculum.
So it could be a multitude of
The
things.
SSA's old news already from
Right,
last
right.
year.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're looking at current.
And then K1 too, right?
But for K1, there's no map data. We
Right.
start assessing mapping in grade 2.
Okay.
And here's our second grade data. So at Springfield, I had 6 students from one classroom. Today, we had 5 students again from one classroom. We start to see some students in the yellow, and that is just because their skills were so low that they were just not making those next level skills once I remediated the ones that were the lowest. So we're just continuing up and just pushing them and making sure that they're continuing to show growth. They're a little bit below typical progress, but it's basically because those higher level foundational skills are just not there yet because they're working on the foundational ones, which possibly could be at second grade below grade level.
That's why another thing I'm thinking about. So the other thing we've been able to do with Charlie's schedule, because he's pulling kids during the wind period. So each grade level has wind at a certain time. Well, when there's any openings, he's pushing in the classrooms too, to pull these kids that he's working with to help focus on these skills. Or a teacher may say, hey, can you work with me on a particular lesson that I'm going to be doing on this? So he has, different purposes day to day, depending on, what he's going to be doing that on a given day. So.
And the teachers have been really well receptive at spring for that additional day for me to come in, be a second set of hands. Mr. Chairman, do you have any ideas on a different strategy I could use that I may not have thought about? Because they're so involved in CKLA, math has kind of been falling down the totem pole just a little bit through no fault of their own. But they say, is there another strategy you think I could use? And I could pull my tool bag, immediately say, hey, let's try this. What lesson are you doing? Okay, we're doing place value. Why don't we pull out the Unifix cubes and have them do hands-on activities, share with their neighbors? They're starting to develop that feeling that they can have that mathematical discourse with their peers talking about math. And that's one of the things I'm really excited about at the second grade and the higher levels.
Can I ask the Scott and Amber, do you feel that the Alex makes it a little bit easier for the teachers, or is that more work for the teachers? With this, when you mentioned the CKLA, and they've had a rough year, getting up on that, and then they also have Alex, which is new to them.
I can respond for Tinicum. When we have these data meetings, and particularly when we're meeting with teachers individually, it varies, right? We might have one teacher say, hey, we're really focused on this intervention. I didn't get to those minutes for Alex. And we're doing what's best for kids. So I think it just depends on what interventions are working for that particular class and with the number of special ed kids they might have in those settings. So it varies.
It does.
Yeah, I'm not seeing them complain about the extra
They're not.
resource.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
In fact, it's another good data point, and I'm seeing families are very receptive for it at home as well. So just that connection. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and it's very involved. They're still learning how to read the reports.
Yeah, that's what
and
I was
understand
wondering, because
what
it looks
piece to
really
look at
involved.
to really figure out what's happening with the student. But it's just another data point. We like to look at different things, and this shows how Joanne is progressing. Maybe she's struggling with fractions. I can go into Alex. I can assign her more practice in that area, give her a little instruction, have her work in that area, and then we see the growth. So it's just another addition to what we're doing.
And having Charlie interpret that data from the charts and everything with those teachers. is
That's
very
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine.
That's what, and if I don't have Thomas, because Singleton's at Tinicum all morning at CKLA, I use that time in my schedule to dive into the data, to be able to work through that background work for the teachers, so it's not put more on them. And that's when the conversation is, I don't want to put more on you. I said, let's look at this together. What do you see? This is what I see. So I was going to go prepared to those data meetings, ready to discuss the data for them specifically based on their students in front of them. One feedback I have gotten from the teachers with the use of Alex is if students were pulled out for reading support or math support during the wing time. Because it's been impressed upon me to not have students on Alex, to be more hands-on with them.
Yeah, I agree with that. We were
teaching.
talking about that.
So
Yeah.
if the students pulled for win, that student's time is actually going to decrease on Boost and Alex because they're not in that. They're with us, the reading specialist or myself during win time where they can't actually physically go on.
We are all very much aware of how much time kids are on computers.
Right. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing.
And here's our enrichment breakdown for the first trimester, our first trimester. So our first thing is we establish math qualifiers for inclusion with enrichment, because we have a certain population of students who are not receiving gifted support, who are not identified for the PAL program, but are as strong as, if not stronger than our gifted students. So we want to make sure that they were included at the upper grades because they're starting going to make the transition into middle school, where now it goes from computation to application. So here we have grade 1 at Durham. The numbers at Durham, because I was more focused on enrichment there, are naturally going to be higher. But as we've expanded out, once my schedule kind of smoothed out a little bit throughout the first trimester, Springfield and Tinicum, we were able to add some GIP students and some non-GIP students.
You had 9 today. I see
Well,
5 there, but you had 9 kids.
They
today.
were added after the slide. So I had 9 students in my group now for the second trimester in Springfield. Thank you, Scott. So enrichments vary from school to school, and Tinicum's enrichment students do not include any students without math goals. So I don't give any student without math goals at Tinicum enrichment support just because of scheduling, because they actually leave a content area class to come see me for that gifted support, for the above grade level support. There's just not time in that schedule for me to do that right now. Hopefully there will be if my 3 o'clock to 3:30 window opens up, but I'll work it out with Amber at a later date.
And that's what I mean, just like with reading, it's a little different in each building. Our staffing's different, our schedule's a little different. Some have singleton, some don't. So we make it all work.
So you have 32 students at Dornox?
Yes. I've had to break up the 5th grade enrichment to 2 groups, a morning group and an afternoon group.
Good problem to have.
Otherwise, I
That's
have
good
a full,
problem.
otherwise I have a full cohort of 5th grade enrichment, and they're on mid to lower 8th grade skills right now.
Wow, that's
That's
awesome.
Also, remember, Marissa Moyer is handling all the intervention at Durham. We don't have that
That's what I
benefit.
wondered,
Right,
if
right,
that- if
right.
that would
I'm
be.
sure we could give him more kids,
Yeah.
but we're trying to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd really like to, I really like what you're doing here with the presentation. I'd like to, but we don't see anything, details on what, they did, what that person does, like.
Oh, at
Is-
Durham.
Yeah, is that
Learning more about
because they're federally funded, so that doesn't have any, so they don't follow the same Alex and the same,
No, they are. They might have some different guidelines because it's titled federally funded, but Alex, almost go down. Part of it works closely with Marissa, and they've created together criteria for different things. So they're definitely working
Oh, okay,
together.
so they
We're
are
not
working
separated.
together. Okay,
It's
I didn't
together,
know
but
that.
She may have to
All right.
follow certain guidelines that he doesn't, just like
Okay.
reading. Durham is a title program, Tinicum and Springfield are not.
Right,
It gives us a little bit more flexibility.
okay.
And this is a final breakdown. So the map report gives us a quadrant report, which shows the comparison of achievement and growth. So I wanted to really kind of focus in and kind of magnify, because if you notice the achievement percentile, it goes from 80 to 100. There were no enrichment students that got below an 80% achievement on the last map test in the middle of the year. So, and the growth percentile going up the vertical column does go from 0 to 50. So we had some students, 5 of the enrichment students did not show growth above the 50 percentile in the middle of the year. That's due to a number of items, but I'm going to look at those specific students. And just so everyone understands, this is all the enrichment students I saw during the first trimester. This is not building by building. This is not Durham specific. This is not Tinicum specific, not grade level specific. This is everybody I saw. I just want to make sure every enrichment student, no matter if they're in that 99th percentile and 99 in growth, that they're still growing from beginning to the middle of the year. And they really show that growth.
We're particularly focused on this because we know it's hardest to grow your strongest students. So that's an effort that the principals have made to work with Charlie. Hey, let's look at these highest kids because we do need to push them forward.
Yeah, good.
We hope this transfers to PSSA.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, it'll be interesting to look at that, to see if it does, see if there's any correlation there. Is 6th grade at least using Alex?
Mike, they're using everyday math now.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, they do have access to Alex, yes.
Okay, do you know if they're using it in the same structure so that there's good transition?
I can find out. I mean, it's sort of like we were talking about with CKLA and Alex at the primary
Yeah,
level, how
yeah.
Mrs. Becker has everyday math and Alex all both brand new at the same time, and she's one person.
Yep.
So, that's part of our conversation. I know on Friday during the professional learning day, the math department will be together. They're going to have some time with Carnegie Learning, but I know that there's also time Mrs. Becker can focus in on that. And that's on my list of check-ins when I go
Okay.
to the building.
And Alex is good. It's been around for a long time. Do we have is there an Alex at the secondary level? Because it goes to K-12.
So we don't, oh, go ahead. You were saying.
Yes, it goes to K-12.
And are we using it there? Oh, wait.
Who are on 6 and 7, fifth graders who have progressed through fifth grade, went through sixth grade, are now a seventh grade Alex. And a small handful have gone on to eighth grade Alex, so they're continuing up. So,
But is there value in us using Alex at the middle and high school?
So possibly, so that the middle level, so yes, obviously in sixth grade, right?
Yeah.
But then seventh and eighth grade with the Carnegie Learning Solution,
Yeah.
that in and of itself comes with its own
That's what I thought,
ancillary that is
right.
tied to that particular curriculum. In
Yes.
fact, there are two components, Mathia and Math Stream,
Yeah.
which are again, similar idea, but tied to that curriculum.
Got it.
And then I do know that one of the reasons why we wanted to even focus more on this year was because in the past, the learning support special education department was using Alex at the high school for students in special education to provide for them additional supports based on that. Insofar as expanding to all the subjects, I'm not quite sure, but I can definitely share that concept or question with the department chairs and have them have a conversation about it.
I'm on the backside of things. I did reach out to Pam Carter at the middle school to identify, especially for the fifth grade enrichment, what if they're on that pre-algebra track, what sixth grade standards are not covered in that course, because they're going to be expected to know that on the sixth grade PSSA.
That's right.
So I covered that in fifth grade and say this is going to be covered on sixth grade PSSA. It's a sixth grade skill, so they're exposed to it.
Yeah.
So hopefully when they take the sixth grade PSSA, they'll be triggering their mind. Hey, Mr. Kramer taught us this.
All right. So, and then I'll open up to the group. Thank you, by the way. So, all right. So your math intervention is K1, 2, right?
That has now trickled to the upper grades as well.
It started in K1, 2, but intervention is going into 3, 4, 5. Intervention as needed
yes.
by you, or
By me, yes.
okay.
Part of a team.
Okay.
Nothing is
Yeah.
an individual.
Okay.
The team,
Well,
we all
and again,
really-
the
we
reason
all
I'm
have to
asking, and I will be bringing this up at some point about, intervention support. I brought it up 47,000 times already at the middle level. And I want us to talk about it as a committee. And then also, what about elementary? I mean, you're one person, like you said. I mean, this is looking like good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, great job.
That's why it can't just be Charlie. He's one person.
That's my point.
Charlie,
That's right.
you know,
That's exactly my point.
the-
That's my point. But even the teachers, it's hard, when you have, a lot of differentiation that you have to do.
And it's similar in reading. We only have a few.
Totally agree.
teachers. And again, if the
Yes.
building looks different, they're working
Yes.
with the teachers. They're a resource for
Right.
our teachers.
That's
to
right.
Provide them with the skills, the
Right.
strategies, any
Yep.
assistance needed.
Agreed.
Couple of questions, if you don't mind. So it sounds like your intervention may be one-to-one, but is intended to be small group generally?
Yes.
Okay. Is there opportunity, maybe you already do this, though it didn't look like a tremendous amount of overlap in sort of the curriculum map, but is there opportunities for skill-based groups as opposed to grade level groups, or are you already doing that? In other words, if there's a challenge in percentage, it's a fifth grade skill, but if there's a skill, I'm terrible at this.
No,
If
you're-
there's
no,
a
you're good.
skill
Perfect.
that overlaps a number of grades, maybe not enrichment, but is there an opportunity to bring sort of that cohort together around a skill that you've identified in your data meetings?
Well, in the data meetings, we identify the skill by grade level. So it's that specific win period time when I'm in the building for days 2 and 5 is a math day. So I'm able to pull any student I need during that math time to provide them intervention. So it's usually around one skill, and then we progress up.
But I think you're asking, can he meet with
Yeah.
a group of 3, 4, 5 kids together?
Mhm.
We would
Talk about
love to do that.
fractions or whatever, right?
Schedule, yeah.
Yes.
Because There's so many things happening within the building
Sure.
that there has to be certain time when he can connect with each grade level. We have learning support going. You have kids, during WIN doing a million different things. You have CKLA going on at different times of
Very
day. So we're
hands-on.
trying to make it all happen. But that would be great if we could do that.
Linda and I talk about competency-based education all the time, and that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah,
What's the
absolutely.
competency?
Yeah.
Now let's bring kids together no matter what grade level. they're in,
Because
they
it
have the
sounds like the
competency.
data is
Right.
coming through
Yes.
with that. So we're
Yeah.
starting to get that level of data, but the schedule is going to handicap us.
Yeah,
But
it's
maybe
true.
at some point staffing and
Mhm.
we'll talk about that as we go. I really like the enrichment model. I'm especially appreciative of the fact that you are spanning out for both intervention and enrichment beyond, for those that have an IEP or those that have a GIEP. I think being holistic around those that need intervention or enrichment is wonderful. Obviously, you're just one person, but those are things we will talk about. The only other thing that occurs to me is you're talking about fifth graders getting enrichment in eighth grade content. And I say this to the gifted parents all the time, is sometimes to go deeper rather than wider. I see now in the high school with like our physics program, those sciences that are deeply math-based. We're getting less and less students in those too. So I think there is an opportunity perhaps to kind of play, and instead of having them, do calculus at 10, to push them in different disciplines that will challenge math skills in a new and different way. And I think that way we'll be bolstering our science programs and our STEM programs as well. I have learned along the way that there's some degree of maturity that is involved in that, that even though they can do it, maybe they shouldn't. It's been a long time in learning.
That's sometimes true when you're 63 years old.
Well,
too.
that's,
Yeah.
look, I
No,
can
I
barely
tell you math.
articulate
No,
math.
that's right.
Now
No.
my second year in this position, I've been able to identify they may be able to do eighth grade skills, but can they apply that
Yeah.
to a real world problem?
Yeah,
And
that's right.
that's where they falter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, which is
Occasionally.
understood, and that's
Right.
where the maturity comes in. These are all wonderful skills. Really appreciate that you're continuing to evolve the schedule, evolve how this kind of service is going. I think that's really what we want to see. I don't think any of us thought we were going to get this right perfectly, but we appreciate the continued conversation, I think.
And on that line, I've told Scott a couple of times, it's perfectly imperfect.
There you go.
Seems like
That's
it's
right.
does that way trimester.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. Betsy?
I asked my question.
Okay,
I
that's okay.
think I'm good.
Okay.
This is just as we talked about, the kids, limiting screen time for the kids. And you said that sometimes the students can use Alex at home as if they didn't get to it, make it up. Does Alex have a turn off time? Like,
That does make me a little bit nervous
for
too
number
about
of-
them going at home to do it.
Yeah, number of
Yeah,
hours.
I get it.
Well,
Yeah.
Of amount of time, because you had a graph on there about how much time.
we've informed parents of that. There has to be a part where the parent is responsible, that this is, how much screen time are you going to allow your child? We can't control what's going on at home. But we've, I know I put in my, for the virtual day, specifically said, we don't want you going over this limit of time. That's all we can do, because it doesn't go off.
It
I wish
doesn't
we
go
could push
off.
that
Okay.
button,
I
but
just-
we can't.
That being said, Betsy, we have multiple times over the course of the last few years, Gary Adams has put out information to families because the grown-ups, the families at home, the parents can go in and they can
Control.
correct.
Good.
Yeah.
That's great.
And just to add, we haven't had any concerns from parents or from the teachers because they can see how long they're on there.
Oh.
So nothing has popped up where they're like,
But-
someone's going.
Oh my goodness.
Working on their own.
4 hours and.
So the parents can put the controls on the Chromebooks?
When they're at home.
Oh, they
Yep.
can?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
That's great. Okay. Thank you so much. Great information.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
Linda.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, Linda.
So am I understanding, Mr. Traber, that you are also helping to assist those teachers that are overseeing the gifted in areas where they may need help to help these kids
Correct.
that are in them? Okay. So you are dealing with them directly one-on-one?
Correct.
Okay, awesome.
Like the teachers feel free to send me, hey, this is a skill that we've identified. They're sending out, but I work specifically with a couple students at Tinicum where I check their IXL. I see what are they working on. I say, what are they not being successful at what, so maybe I need to do a specific explicit instruction on that skill, but that I tied into PSSAs. So I kind of tied in to be able to answer a real world problem with that skill. I said, no, this is the math behind how you answer this. So I kind of also tie in a lot of skills like test taking and be able to just apply the math to real world skills. Like I'm working on Pythagorean theorem with the students at Tenneco. And that's a semantic skill, but it's still, we're talking about squares, we're talking about square roots, which is a 6th grade and 7th grade skill. So it's kind of a little bit of everything.
I think what you said about real life is really important.
Yes, agreed.
Because I know algebra, never used it, never liked it, never learned it.
That's what my pushback is. I guarantee you use it sometime today if you bought it.
That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be able to explain that.
We got your own.
We'll give this.
That's right. There we go. All right. Thank you so much.
If I need to learn how to ride a bike, you're doing that.
There, that's good. That's right. All right. So those are our topics. So next up is our discussion, which is the comprehensive plan survey and the feedback there. At the last meeting, I gave each of you comments from the academic excellence, which were, some of what do we need to do, other comments, things that are working well. And, what I'd like to hear from you are kind of what are your 2 or 3 standouts that you saw from that, so that as we continue forward, as Dr. Donnelly and I continue forward and work together on the agenda, what are other topics that we need to either dig into, or things like I always say, what is it the board needs to dig into to provide more financial support to, or any of those types of things. So I thought the comments were really good. And again, I just gave you the employee comments. Anybody want to start with the things that stood out to you? 2 or 3 things? Want to start?
Well, the employee comments were interesting in that reading them, it appears that they feel that we need to have more intervention or more I don't know. I would have liked to have asked the principals how they feel as far as do they feel that we're covering them well as far as giving them the staff that they need, because I don't know. I'm not there. People can complain a lot about a lot of things because, they don't want to have to work a little more than what they think they should be working, but maybe our opinion of what they should be working is different than what theirs is. So it's really hard to look back and try to figure that out. So I will turn it over to Sylvia.
All right. Well, I think I have some buckets here that I kind of noticed. Obviously, and I don't think this is going to surprise anybody, but more time, more staffing.
Yes. Yeah.
So
we talked about that.
That's
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Not a surprise,
I
right?
Probably say the same thing in my job every day. So that wasn't necessarily a surprise or an easy win.
Did you feel that was like the overarching?
I think it was,
Yeah,
and they
I
were the
felt that.
shortest. It was time.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm married to a teacher. He says the same thing. So,
Yeah. I don't think you'd ever get away from that.
I don't think so either. So certainly something we keep in the back of our minds, but, in terms of other buckets, I agree with Cora. So I kind of looped it all together, but my biggest bucket was probably the MTSS IEPs,
Me too.
emotional support.
Me too. That was mine too.
And the comments varied, I think, some of which are, from a legal perspective, how to put kids in the least restrictive class. So that's not the right terminology, but the right placements for lots of different kids. There was a strand of kids short of IEPs, but still needed interventions, I think. It is not an area that I know a whole lot about, but there was enough there, and there wasn't like a singular complaint other than, I think, I'll make up the word, but overwhelmation with like a special education population that we're trying to serve. And I think everybody's trying to do their best, but it was just an overall like we need to do more here and we're not quite sure, you know, and some of that came out with the NTSS. So, you know, and I wrote quickly, well, we'll talk about how to get there or what to do about it. My other bucket was around professional development. There was a couple strands there. Better use of time, not unexpected. But quite a few on AI, instruction around how to make AI augmentative as opposed to detracting from an educational experience. And then professional development back to differentiation and IEPs. So that was another theme. And then I think a bit of theme around the high school. So course loads, study halls, early dismissals, arrivals. Saw a bit of that. And then the only takeaway that I thought maybe could be, and I have mentioned this before, Dr. Donnelly, to the extent that, and I'll repeat it, but there's one comment that we could use more science resources. So we should just get them. I don't know what they are, but somebody, and it might be some of the sciences that are less, that I was just talking about, the physics and the, you know, higher level chemistries that not a lot of kids take. We probably, we may be able to use a refresh. And I have no knowledge that it's that, I assume we have a whole lot of biology and chemistry generally. So they are my buckets.
That's very funny because they're pretty much mine as well. But Betsy, I'm going to let you go before I
Well,
start.
before we jump into Betsy, could I just say
Yeah.
something quick? Because we're talking about the comprehensive plan here.
Right.
And in the group that I was in Dr. Donnelly's group, we talked, it came up a lot because the three people that were in that group, we talked a lot about collaboration with our collaborative districts. And it came, I heard from somebody, and I can't say who said it because, you know, it probably, I think it was in a committee meeting, but somebody from Penridge made that comment. Why can't we do more collaborative with our with our collaborative districts? So, you know, some of the things that you were saying, that brought it to my mind that, you know, we're all aiming for the same thing, and we partner with them with the tech school. Why can't we partner with them in other areas? And I don't know how the other districts feel about that, you know, like if that would be a problem, but I think it's something we should explore. I think, you know, can we look at how is that possible? Or other, I think, Michael, we talked about that a little bit, and you had said that, was it out in Lancaster County or something?
Yeah, we were talking
That
about
they were
sharing the high
actually-
school courses and things like that,
something,
right?
you know, and we could be innovative with it and maybe lead the way in you know, we're, you know, doing this great thing, the three districts working together and sharing. We have this great Charlie, you know, can Charlie help, you know, like.
Did that make it through, Michael?
Yes.
Okay, so if it's in the
It is in the
comprehensive
comp plan.
plan, then we
Then we'll
have
be
an
doing that.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So.
You just have to vote yes on Wednesday.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, really.
So I asked Karen before we started, there were a couple of statements that I questioned about, like what level they were talking about. And she said she can sort the comments because it was just a little confusing. Particularly middle school, was it a middle school comment or a high school comment, which could make a difference as to how you approach it. But I would generally say the same things that you said. And in regards to staffing, as you said, Cora, my question was, and I felt I just needed more information and education about how, like, in the different departments, what are the expectations of the teachers in, because there was kind of something about the teacher didn't feel that they had to plan for different classes, and that wasn't giving them enough time to focus on really in-depth. And then I was thinking back to when I was in school, and I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, I know teachers that taught 3 or 4 different subjects.
Correct.
At least, not subjects, but 3 or 4 different courses,
Levels,
history,
yeah.
or
Right,
like
right.
social studies type courses, or 3 or 4 different science type courses. So I guess I wanted to have a little bit of an understanding of, particularly the high school level, what that staffing looked like. What are teachers? If this is teacher A, what are they teaching? And this is teacher B, and what are they teaching? Kind of thing, just to get a better, because I don't I don't know that. I don't understand that. In elementary school, it's a little bit more clear cut.
Right.
You're teaching grade 1. You're responsible for all of it.
Yeah.
Except because then the art and the music. You know?
Right. It's funny. I had that also because, you know, that the time and staffing came up, which I suspected that comes up, you know, all the
And
time.
that's pretty typical. Yeah.
But it does make me wonder. And again, you know, almost back to the budget conversations that we've been having and that you brought up at the last board meeting, and, you know, the goal that we have for Bridget about, you know, the balanced budget and things, and what does that look like? And yet I think the staffing thing is something that we should look at. And, you know, as I talk about the middle school and intervention there, as we just heard, you know, some of the good work that's going on here with intervention, but do we need more interventionists? But I think to do that, we're going to have to look at staffing. But fiscal at the last meeting says, well, EPS needs to come to us with a suggestion for different kinds of staffing. And we really haven't given Bridget any staffing other than to say, any recommendations other than to
We
say,
asked Bridget to move into the opposite direction.
yeah, we have,
But if
right.
we all show up at fiscal on Friday,
Well, right.
and ask them to, you know, I think Bridget has what she needs at this fiscal.
I'll present on Monday.
Yeah. I think we have to just say no. No, is
But I also think that,
we're
you know,
not moving in that direction.
But I also think that given some of these comments, it would be helpful to maybe give some direction and support to Bridget to say, like, look, we do think we need more intervention. Maybe we need to look at the middle level. And again, I pulled out the staffing. I also pulled out the MTSS, and there were, you know, a lot of, and I pulled the comments together, and, you know, there were a lot of comments about, you know, the MTSS system not working. And again, I don't think that that's the case. I just think that probably it's that there needs to be more PD, more professional development. But again, is it more supports that we need? And so, you know, I thought, is this a topic we can, you know, continue to talk about? But do we need to give some direction as an EPS committee to say, we'd like to look at more intervention resources? We'll have to see Bridget's staffing plan first, but do we want to go to the fiscal committee and say, look, we need something here?
There again, lost that whole collaborative thing.
Well, it does, although I don't know that we'll ever collaborate with staff in a way, you know, in other words,
But a
like,
coach,
yeah, I
Or we
don't
can
know.
divide, there's, and it's part of that, sorry, Bridget. If we teach, I'm gonna pick on physics again, I don't know why I'm picking on physics today, but we teach physics and they teach AP Chem, or I don't know, it's,
yeah.
Still
I don't-
cuts down on staff.
yeah, so we still use our
Yes.
staff to take, but who
Right.
knows? If it's in the comp plan though, that gives us an opportunity to dig in.
I
and
think
do some-
MTS is
Yeah.
in the comp plan, isn't it?
as
Is it?
well.
Okay, which is good.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Understood. Nope, go ahead.
Okay.
It is a population though of students that are really driving many of the comments in here relating
Yes.
to MTSS and
Yes.
students with challenging behaviors, students with special needs. And I think I'm thinking back to sometimes things come, you know, they say things come full circle. And, you know, and maybe we're on that precipice of, you know, like the least restrictive environments, but you know, how effective are least restrictive environments being for those students?
Right.
And
Yeah.
can there be a case for that your students can make more progress? And I'm not saying completely
Right.
self-contained.
If there's a class or yeah,
You know,
I
I mean, you
understand.
know, like,
yeah.
are there
Right.
other creative
Yeah.
solutions to help
Right.
those students, which then in turn can help
Right.
our teachers and the other students in the classes?
So I'm thinking of years ago when you had K to 12 in a one-room school building, you know, like they did
Yeah.
help, you know, like the older kids helped the younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, my older sister actually went to a one-room school before Saturn built their high school, or before they built the elementary school. And so, you know, it's like she went to college, so I think I don't think it damaged her anyway, but you know, maybe we could be using our older, like the
Yeah.
little, big and little
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
I would share just about collaborative efforts between our sending districts. So there was a time when we did collaborate with Quakertown and Penridge on an online program. So it would be a seat sharing
Yeah.
arrangement.
Yeah.
That shifted gears. Not that couldn't be renewed if there's that interest.
Did it shift gears because it wasn't working, or it wasn't?
No,
it just
there was other.
Okay.
Well, I had
Doctor
mentioned
Okay.
it to Matt and when he was still there, and he said that he was concerned that if they did that then the board would never give them, because I think they wanted their own program, and that's the thing. Everybody wants their own, you know, and it's like, well, we could do so much, we could do bigger and better if we just, you know, would share and
So I
work
think,
together.
too, another challenge is the distance between our schools.
Yeah,
That
you know,
is a
like
challenge.
Penridge, for example, has Upper Bucks right there, so
Yeah.
that their
Mhm.
kids can walk across the street to access community college courses in
Yeah.
person. Whereas we have an arrangement that the professors come here. So geographically, that's
True.
a consideration, which is why we had the arrangement with virtual and
Virtual.
seat exchanges and that type of thing. So
And then our
Um,
kids, you know, juniors can't
Yeah.
necessarily drive and it
Correct.
gets,
Yeah.
it gets
Yeah.
Right. The only thing I'll say though is, you know, my youngest daughter, who did the medical pathways program, which was phenomenal, drove to Grandview
they still do.
every other day. Yeah.
So there's
I said,
still-
there's
I mean,
options.
and-
So
If they can
I mean,
drive, if they're 16.
yeah, I think I think they figured it out because they started as juniors with that.
They did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it was, you know, it was an amazing program. So I do think the staffing piece is, you know, something back to what you were saying, Betsy and Bridget, as you're,
Mhm.
you know, talking about the staffing, I do think at some point, of course, this doesn't have to be a fiscal next week on Monday or whenever it is, that I agree. I would love to see, because we do get a lot of feedback about, oh, we're not replacing teachers when they retire and things like that, which I know in some cases is true, but it would be nice to kind of see, I think, at the high school level, who's teacher A, what are the different courses they're teaching? I think it would help us with some of these decisions.
I think also, I don't know if it was in a comment here or something else that I was reading, but about teachers that may have, and maybe this relates around specials more, maybe not complete full schedules. And I think that Bridget has tried to address that
Right, yeah.
issue in keeping full-time teachers and
Like the gifted issue.
yeah, and maybe, you know, we've kind of worked around and
Mhm.
done some extra support for teachers and things, but just an understanding about where those things are, and knowing that we're required to have phys ed teachers
Right,
and
right.
and provide art and
Right.
and the arts and that kind of thing. So it's not something that we can just say, oh, sorry, you know, you're out the door.
Right. Well, and then
but-
conversely, if they don't have a full schedule, do we want to give people part-time schedules? I
Well,
mean,
yeah, and-
and that's what I know you tried not to do.
And again, you know, if you're in an age when you're teaching, you need an income, and so you're not
Yeah,
going to
right,
take a
right.
You're not
part-time
gonna take a
job.
Right,
part-time job.
exactly.
Yeah, you're not
right,
going to take a
right,
part-time job because
right.
of that. But the size of our district and the reality of where, you know, of how many classes that person would take. So, but maybe understanding that a little bit better too,
Yeah.
but like where
Agreed.
those areas might be that, you know, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't-
Agreed.
Yeah, and from I'll mention one other thing too that we haven't mentioned, and I don't know that we've talked about it a lot in EPS or at the board level, but our ESL, I know it's not ESL anymore.
Multilingual learners,
Yeah.
MLLs.
The new acronym. We have a growing population here in Palisades. That's certainly not something we've heard about a lot. I would like to just learn more about that program. That's been on my mind. It came up one or two times here. But I do think our demographics are changing a little bit. And that, you know, that is a population that we need to serve and haven't really touched that program a whole lot. So I'd personally like to learn more about that one. And it sounds like if we've got good bootstraps, the MTSS, especially if we've got bootstraps to the comp plan, you know, certainly there
Yes,
can be
good.
sort of touch point on the EPS agenda that sort of launches us into goals for next year
Yes,
for the
agreed.
district so I don't know that, the meeting itself would necessarily accomplish anything, but it could be a good grounding for, board discussions with Bridget around what the goals need to be and how to kind of dig into the comp plans moving forward.
Can we ask if there has feedback from the community on the comp plan since it's been public?
Did she get any feedback?
No additional
Yeah.
feedback.
Nothing?
And that's normal.
Okay.
I don't guess, yeah. Okay, so we have some good topics, and like I said, I still am on this, I think we need to discuss this intervention piece, but you're right, we probably need some more information before that in terms of staffing and where we are, and, but I have a perseveration issue, so I'll keep bringing it up. The only other topic I have, and this is kind of along the same lines, I entitled it Collaboration to Support Rigor. Because, several people had said stuff about rigor, and I'm guessing they're secondary teachers.
Yeah, I think
Several people have said things about
yeah.
rigor, and then some said that, wanting more collaboration between like the middle school and the high school, being able to have more opportunities there. So I know next month, I think we're talking about the professional learning plan. So, that's, so we can dig into that topic then, I think, and
maybe add AI to that.
the AI piece came up a lot also.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
quite a few.
Well, Friday's professional learning
think-
for secondary, and
Okay,
so
perfect.
in the afternoon, 6 through 12, departments have time to work together.
Great.
So
I think Linda has something, and Linda was on the AI group when we were talking about.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt what your conversation is though, because mine may be somewhat unrelated, but a topic that I was reminded of tonight, seeing our phys ed teachers here, when Blocker brought the presentation last year with the other woman about
The
Yeah.
Cascade,
health
yes,
issues
talking
and
about
the-
health.
you know, the digital,
Yeah.
world that we live in and so forth. I'd love to hear like how that's going, what they're doing, how they're implementing,
Good
teaching
point.
our kids about,
Yeah.
keeping things at a good level so it's not affecting them
Yeah.
physically, mentally, emotionally and all those things. So
Okay. Well, we
No,
did talk
yeah.
about doing, maybe having a presentation on like the K-12 health curriculum almost. Yeah. Okay, we can talk about that then.
Yeah, that was a really good presentation.
It was.
last year.
It was, yeah. All right. The only other thing that I have out of those questions was there were some just interesting comments, which I can share with you. Like this one says, there's lack of funds for classroom resources for special education stuff. We can look at those, and if that's true, then tell us as a board. Again, those could be one or two, and somebody said in math, we didn't receive teacher manuals, like stuff like that. So I'll send those your way.
Seriously?
I don't
Is that possible?
Every special education teacher does not have their own manual for all grade levels because they don't teach all grade levels.
Okay.
So what I've done subsequently is with our new, because we got the newer edition of Everyday Math this year. So what I've subsequently done is I've purchased one library for each elementary school. So special
Each
education-
building.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So there's a K-5 manual, hard copy manual, whereas both CKLA and Everyday Math are available online for manuals. I was able to procure a K-5 hard copy set for each of the 3 elementary schools.
So it's available to them. It's
Correct.
not
Yep.
that they're.
Yep.
convenient.
And that might have come about after that comment was submitted.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yes.
And they
Yep.
have some.
That's right.
Yep.
So, okay. All right. On to informational chief science officers. This is a good one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
this is
was
really a good one.
Oh, and I heard wonders about STEM.
STEM
Thank you.
STEM,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for that. So as you know, Mr. Fidel and Mr. Chilton are working with our chief science officers. The program began here in Palisades in 2019. So we were one of the first schools to jump on board. Since that time, as you've heard numerous times, the various accolades and awards that both Mr. Fidel and our students are earning. And so to that end, recently there will be a press release coming out, but in conjunction with the IU, Mr. Fidel wrote for a grant from Pennsylvania, and it was awarded. It's a $90,000 grant to support the continuation of teaching and growing the CSO program and professional development and things of that nature. And so because of that, the national organization did a video on our Palisades students. So I hope you can hear it. Let's see. Oh, sorry about that.
Yep. Did the video. Did they do it? Okay.
So when it first started in 2019, I was approached with this new program idea for CSOs. It engages a lot of students who are interested in STEM. Like they have that innate kind of drive to learn STEM. But what sets a lot of them apart is their willingness and their passion to share. Our CSO program started the STEM Outreach Club kind of as an avenue to get more of our student population out there sharing their passion.
I really do have a passion for science. That's something that I enjoy in classes, inside the classroom, outside the classroom. It's something I've always kind of searched for. I gained a good bond with our chief science officer, advisor, Mr. Fidel, and he encouraged me to just sign up and become an officer of the club.
Palisades High School has been in the Chief Science Officer program since we kicked it off in the 2019-2020 school year. Watching the growth and the evolution of the program has been phenomenal. They have a club of over 35 students. The CSOs each have their own action plan, plus they do things as a club, and it's impacted not only their school, but their district and their community.
Building a club to get broader high school participation was our first goal. Then it was STEM night. That was the second big goal. We've also done tree planting projects every year. Most recently, we partnered with Nurture Nature Center to do a youth climate summit, and our elementary after school STEM club. Student volunteers teach an after school program for 5 weeks every spring.
I think overall, I'm most proud of that after school STEM club. I was able to put that project into place and actually make the idea something real.
I think the most exciting experience that I've been a part of because of Chief Science Officers was getting to present and attend the National Science Teachers Association convention in Philadelphia. Then we also got to present about our roles as Chief Science Officers and student empowerment as high school students within a club.
They are leaders that involve everybody. The CSOs have been an integral part just because if we just sort of started this club, I feel like it would be a group of people without true leaders. And the CSOs have elevated those kids to leadership roles.
Students who are passionate about any part of STEM, whether it's one of the letters or STEM as a whole, or even just wanting to be a leader, they have the opportunity to do that through the CSO program.
I think Chief Science Officers is a really great opportunity for you to not only be able to get involved and have that leadership credit written on your college application, but it also really allows you to explore something that you personally are passionate about.
There you have it.
Yes,
Pretty
that's
cool, right?
great. So good. Good job.
So that's awesome. So from there to see more awesome stuff, our middle of the year benchmark assessments for CKLA. As you know, we assess our students beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, and all of our grade levels have made growth. There were some, and Dr. Beer and I were talking about, like grade 1, for example, made a little bit less growth. So we're going to focus on that. But again, we kept keeping in mind that this is our first year of implementation. And we had Amanda as our coach who visited with us for 2, I call them residencies, 2 3-day stints. And then her position changed. And so we have a new coach, Cindy, who was an elementary school teacher who taught CKLA, and she's a little more local. She's in New Jersey. She was with us for a residency in February. She'll be back in April. Both Amanda and Cindy, without any prompting, in their comments after they give us our summaries, said, if we did not know that this was your first year implementing, we would have no idea. The teachers are doing a phenomenal job. And the one shout out I want to make, and I sent this to the teachers, kudos and congratulations to them, our administrators, the professional learning community team, they meet, and then we as an admin team with them meet to talk about the GLOWs, the GROWs, and any outstanding questions. I did a special shout out for our kindergarten friends. As you can see at where it says BOY, beginning of year, at that point, 33% of our students in September were either at or above benchmark. And as of their testing at the middle of the year in January, 72% were at
at or above benchmark. So they went from 33 to 72% in kindergarten, which is awesome. Granted, we expect growth in kindergarten, right? But we want growth in all of our grade levels. Our kids are doing great. Our teachers are doing great. So just want to share that with you.
Team, what do you think about writing some thank you notes before the end of the year to our CKLA, just from the board or from, if we can divide
love
it,
it.
I'll do it in cursive.
I'll use a cursive font. So- yeah, no, I love that idea.
Yeah. That would, all three buildings.
Yeah, Dr. Donnelly, it'll take some time, but would you mind just at some point, a list of the teachers who?
Yeah, I can do that, no problem. The next item is just, letter D is just a reminder for kindergarten registration, March 23rd. We're really excited. It's a sort of a refresh of what we've done in the past. It'll be one night only from 4 to 7 at the middle school. We've been publishing for registration. We encourage families to register online in advance. But that evening, we're going to have stations set up. We have school counselors will be there, principals, the mascots will be there. Obviously, our students won't know to which school they're going. That's why all three. We'll also have the pirate will be there. Someone from the high school student will be the pirate. We're going to have some snacks. We designed, I should have brought one, but we designed little t-shirts. They're purple with yellow that says Palisades Pirate, class of 2039. Mrs. Scoggin created the what it looks like, and Mr. Brinia, our PIMS coordinator, she's really running with this idea. So we have little things like at one table there'll be Smarties that the principal can give out because all the kids are going to be smart, all that kind of stuff. So we're looking forward to just a fun night. So we're encouraging folks, even if you finished registering online, we'd love for you to come out and be able to then just celebrate and get to school counselors will be there, again, principals, and then stations for folks that need support in the registration process. So that'll be on March 23rd at 4 o'clock. And then Dr. Beer and I were talking just to have Palm's schedule on here just for a moment as a reminder, informational. It is, again, another one of the goals that from the district, from the board, to implement a new schedule for the 26-27 school year. That work is continuing. I, in fact, just met with Carl and Rich earlier this week. Bridget and I met and we're talking about it the other day as well. And things are moving forward at this point. I wanted to make a special note, though. I know that I think last time some folks had a little bit of concern or were questioning a little bit about WIP and it's going away forever. At this point, what I'd like to say is that WIP is not going away forever per se. Rather, it's being put on hold with the idea that we have new science standards. Next year, we're going to have a different approach to science, which you'll hear about in May, because our teachers worked with Mosamac for a year, but didn't really find it was what they needed. So they're going to come to you in May with another proposal. So that new, and Ms. Jacoby is part of that and has to figure out how to make all that work for all of our students. In addition to, again, just the schedule itself, as well as then our new math curriculum, which will be in year 2 next year. And as you heard tonight, the new CKLA program. So there's a lot. And so what we're doing with this schedule is we're going to put WIP as we've known it on hold, but increase, as we said last month, increase opportunities. So Ms. Jacoby is going to continue to offer activities and learning opportunities and experiences outside of the classroom and in nature. And in fact, to a certain degree, may even be more popular because it will be open to more students. It won't be relegated to just the handful, the 12 or 14 students that quote apply to be in the program for their academics, but it'll be more of a club sense where students in multiple grade levels. I haven't gone into the weeds with that yet, but more opportunity, right? And then after we get a sense of what the schedule is like, what's working, what's not, tweaking that, looking at courses, looking at student engagement, that sort of thing, we can very much definitely revisit WIP as it was and or revitalize in a new way, shape, or form. So just wanted to I know that was a point for clarity from last month, and I wanted to kind of put a pin in that if that was okay.
So the new program will be in effect for next fall.
Correct.
The new schedule.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, the new program.
Yes,
that's
the
taking
science.
over
Yep.
the-
The science club, as it were. What I think she's still working on a name for it. But yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And often, I just thought of that as you were talking about, but the CSO,
Yep.
that's a club.
Yes.
So is that open to anybody, or do they have to have, is there a criteria?
No, anyone at the high
Anyone?
school, yeah.
Vote
Oh,
for the
really?
CSO. So
Yeah.
the STEM club kids vote for the CSO.
Correct. Yeah. So it's almost like so the CSOs are the elected leaders of the STEM club. And when you think about our student population at the high school, to have 35 or more kids in a club
Yeah.
focused on that topic is really, really inspiring. And they have a really great time.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And right now they are, as you heard Mr. Fidel say, one of the after school clubhouses that we have in place right now on Fridays is STEM Club. And it is really led by a CSO, and there's a teacher there to serve as a supervisor. But really it's the high school student who's really sort of getting into it with the kids and leading the workshops.
Yeah.
And there's one CSO at each of the 3 elementary schools for those 5 or 6 Fridays. Yeah.
That's exactly what we were talking about.
Yep, that's awesome.
Yeah. And that is what I have.
Yeah, I think that just maybe next year, January, February, we just come back to like Palm's schedule and say, how's it going?
Mhm.
That'd be great. And then maybe, like you said, by that time, maybe there'll be a new idea or something like that. All right. Let's see. We are at 8:25. So therefore, next scheduled meeting date, April 8th. And I think that's it.
Great.
Anything else for them?
I'm gonna try to shut this down.
All
One
right.
moment.
Thank you, everyone.